All right. Are you guys ready to find out where we're going?
I mean, I'm definitely nervous.
There's an experiment that I do have in mind for this location, something that we've never done before.
That's never a good idea.
Let's just say this is gonna be a night we probably never forget. So, you guys wanna open the packet?
The Missouri State Penitentiary? Once infamously labeled the bloodiest 47 acres in America, the Missouri State Penitentiary now sits vacant, stoically decaying along the Missouri River. In operation for 168 years, the prison held some of America's most notorious criminals, including robber Pretty Boy Floyd, anarchist Emma Goldman, and even murderer James Earl Ray. It was from this prison that James Earl Ray escaped and assassinated Martin Luther King Jr.
The violence of this penitentiary was legendary, and nearly 2,000 people died on site.
They say there's not an inch of this facility inside these walls that has not seen bloodshed on it. They were known for violent punishment. They didn't just use a straight whip, cat o' nine tails, about a dozen leather straps, shards of metal and glass on the end of each one of those so it filleted a man's flesh when it made contact.
The most was 99 lashes. They said they would kind of gauge sometimes how bad it was by how deep the blood would be in your shoes. They actually had waterboarding.
Every housing unit had unique solitary confinement cells where inmates would spend their days completely in the dark, cut off from the outside world.
We know of men that spent years at a time in these underground punishment cells. They came out blind, and they sometimes came out completely crazy if they were down there long enough.
We've heard stories of men killing themselves in a dungeon cell. Well, how do you do that? You don't have ropes, you don't have anything. They would run their head into the wall until they couldn't anymore.
One inmate, Firebug Johnson, was kept in the dungeon cells of Housing Unit 4 for 17 years after he started a fire that killed 4 fellow inmates.
Can you imagine being locked in a dungeon isolation cell for 17 years?
With no light, of course you're gonna go absolutely crazy.
I've never heard that at any penitentiary before.
And it gets worse, trust me.
40 death row inmates were executed here, most in the gas chambers that are still on the grounds today.
There's gas chambers?
I didn't know that was a thing in the US.
No.
I really didn't.
That's disgusting.
In 1953, the prison had the notorious distinction of executing a woman, Bonnie B. Heady, putting her and her partner, Carl Hall, to death at the same time. They had kidnapped 6-year-old Bobby Greenlease, the son of a multi-millionaire auto dealer, and demanded $600,000 ransom for his safe return.
This was the biggest kidnapping that had happened thus far. They also received the largest ransom ever to be asked for at that time. His father paid $600,000 in cash to get his 6-year-old son back, but they killed that child within an hour after they had picked him up.
You don't get more evil than that. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the most heinous crimes I've ever heard about.
Why write a ransom if you've already killed the son?
No, it's hard to feel bad for those type of people when they do something so horrific like that.
It's said that Bonnie's soul is still contained inside the gas chambers to this day.
Haunted accounts. The prison has immense paranormal activity, and many claim it was haunted even while it was still in operation. Since it closed in 2004, the activity has increased tenfold.
Put 2,000 killers in this place, I'm just fine. This place, alone at night, by myself, I'm not walking through here.
Shadow figures come out of one cell, go down the walk, go into another cell, they'll go across the catwalk.
I always feel like somebody is with me. Crawlers on the floor, a feeling of something behind you, and you can't turn around.
The most active areas include Housing Unit 1. People report seeing full apparitions of female prisoners walking into cells. Intense Class A EVPs have also been captured, including one that said, "Somebody cut me apart."
What?
All right, Tanner.
The gas chambers. A woman's voice can be heard softly speaking. Many believe it's Bonnie Hetty. She's been heard whispering love to those who enter.
Who else would it be?
And she was executed with her boyfriend, so it almost is like she's talking to her boyfriend or searching out for him.
The dungeon cells,
Yep.
otherwise known as solitary confinement, located in Housing Unit 4. People report having their hair tugged, their ankles grabbed, and being viciously scratched.
When you're down there and the lights are turned off, you can't see your hand, an inch in front of your face. But there's shadow people down there that are darker than the dark.
A menacing entity resides here, appearing with half a face next to visitors and transferring his distress and pain onto them until they are so overwhelmed they flee the area.
To stand down there in the darkness and the silence, when you feel all of a sudden behind you it's like 20 degrees colder.
3D punishment cells. These are the basement solitary confinement cells for Housing Unit 3. And many people refuse to be down here alone. The energy is very unsettling and violent.
That is the creepiest place on this property as far as I'm concerned. Chelsea cannot stay in 3D. There is an odd energy down there. It can be any size, any shape. It can sound like a little kid. It can sound like your sister.
Okay, screw that.
Yeah.
There's also an 8-foot tall shadow figure. Sometimes the figure becomes a full apparition that opens its mouth and silently screams until they leave.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That's just creepy.
That's out of a nightmare.
Dakota, you don't have the best track record with prisons.
No, I don't. I do not like prisons. They scare me more than